Welcome back to episode 2. I am so excited to dive in today. We are discussing basically worthiness of receiving support. And this is something that has come up for me for many, many years, but something that has particularly come up now that we've welcomed our newborn into the world. He is almost 2 weeks fresh. And with my first, I had support, but I struggled very much to allow myself to receive that support. And I think it's a really important conversation that we have in all aspects, whether it's parenting or business or career or friendships or just like going through a hard time, allowing yourself to receive the support, asking for the support, all of the things can be incredibly difficult for so many of us. So let's dive into it. When we have access to support, so we're not talking about the struggles that when we don't have the village behind us and we don't have the community, because that's a very real reality for many, many people. But today we're talking about when you have the privilege and the opportunity to have that village, to have that support, whether it is friends and family or hired support with babysitters or doulas, however that looks. That's what we're really going to focus on, because there's many people who have the support, but still feel like they can't say yes, still feel like they have to prove or show that they are deserving of the support before they allow themselves to receive it. And this idea of being worthy to receive means we don't have to prove anything. We don't have to work harder. We don't have to hustle. We don't have to show up more. We don't have to offer an opportunity for someone to give back. Like, you can just receive without doing for others. And this is a concept in our society that is not really talked about because everyone's so afraid to look selfish, because that's a word that's thrown around a lot when you come to prioritizing yourself. And sure, when you are maliciously not thinking of others, sure, you're selfish. Okay. But when you're putting yourself first, especially when you are exhausted or life change or anything, you're allowed to put yourself first. You're allowed to fill your cup. You're allowed to take a break. You're allowed to pause. And even if life isn't busy, you're still allowed to pause. And you can't see, but my hands are flailing around right now. You are allowed to take a break at any point in time for any reason. And if you have the support to do so, even better. But because we've been told you're selfish if you put yourself first, you're selfish if you're not the one looking after your kids, or you're not the one doing the work tasks, or you're not the one cooking dinner, you're not the one driving around, you're selfish if you're not doing. And that's total BS, because if you're constantly doing, you are burning out so quickly and so fast that it is going to hit you out of nowhere. And it's a very common saying, but it's one of my favorite, that if you don't choose rest, if you don't prioritize rest, your body will make you. It will find the time for you at the most inconvenient time. Because whether or not you think you can go, because there are many people who thrive off of 2 hours of sleep and they don't need to rest and they don't need to stop. No, their body is just used to being in overdrive, in that cortisol pumping situations, and it's not good for your health. There's so many studies on it. So priding ourselves on being able to not rest needs to end. It needs to dissolve, because everybody and everybody needs rest. And if you don't prioritize it, if you don't build in moments to catch your breath, you are simply going to hit a wall at any given time. And there's no way of predicting it. At least if you build in your rest, you know when it's coming and how to work around it, right? So this is the thing, that when we do have the support or we do have the resources, then we are allowed to. We are back. My baby started crying, and this is real life, right? So my husband has taken our toddler out to a family outing. Our newborn is at home. He's sleeping, he's resting, and I have stayed home with him to hang out, replenish myself, putter around the house, did some kitchen tidying, etc. And then I thought, you know what? He's actually sleeping. I'm going to record a podcast. I'm going to get cozy in my bed and record the podcast. And of course, he is stirring a little bit, and that is okay. But that has created a couple parts for our broadcast today. So let's get back into it. as I was saying, your body is going to choose a moment to rest. So at least if we choose the moment, we have that sense of control and that sense of planning. And this is why I talk about planning so much on social media and in real life conversations, because the idea of planning, or the concept that when we plan, we're in complete control, is an illusion. We are rarely in control of what's going on in our lives, but planning allows us to be flexible and adaptable to the ever-changing situation, right? So if we have a plan of when we're going to rest, let's say, we know we can stack our, how would I say it? You can kind of stack your hopes in that sense. So if you know you have 5 things you need to get done this Sunday, and you also want to make sure that by 2 p.m. in the afternoon, you are taking the rest of the day off to prep for the work week, to hang out, to rest, etc. You can plan that even if the morning is busy, you're going to ask your partner for help, ask a friend to come over, ask a family member, or you're going to power through and just get those 5 tasks done. That's your priority for the morning. And even if things get chaotic and go off kilter, off plan, which they tend to, you know that your situation, your plan is to get most of it done. So if you are done all of a sudden and ready to rest by 3:30, you've still got what you needed done, but you're still allowing that rest. And it allows that flexibility and that adaptability. It's when we have the rigidness around planning that really starts to get chaotic, and it feels worse, because when we're rigid, it feels like we're gripping onto something so tight that is inevitably slipping away. Because again, say it with me, the sense of control is just a perception. And this is something I say with laughter because I am learning it over and over again. I am first to admit, I love a good sense of control, a good feeling like I'm making the decisions, I'm doing this, I know how blah, 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 right? And it is so humbling when you are put into situations over and over again to remind you, you have to trust the universe, trust God, trust and surrender to what is unfolding in front of you. And sometimes it's going to suck. Sometimes we're not going to understand why it's unfolding this way. But being present in the moment and reassuring yourself you are strong enough to handle this, you have gotten through your worst days, you're going to keep taking one foot in front of the other. Even if it turns into a crawl, you are just going to slowly move forward until you get to the other side of the chaos of whatever you're going through. And this is why when I say that prioritizing rest or allowing yourself to receive support is so crucial, because it allows these twists and turns to be stomached a little bit easier, to be able to digest the bigness of some life events, right? So we have a lovely young woman. She hangs out with our daughter when she's not at school. They are best friends. I am so, so grateful that she came into our lives at the end of last year. And originally, when my daughter's at school, she doesn't come over because the kiddos are not here. But after having a conversation with my family and a conversation with this young woman, we agreed that she would come over for a couple hours on the days that my daughter is at school and I have the newborn at home alone, so I can work, take a shower, rest, grab a coffee, do whatever I need to do to fill my cup. And I can 100% tell you, 2 years ago when my daughter was born, I absolutely would not have been comfortable for this. I was feeling like I had to prove that I deserved it. I had to work harder to deserve it. I had to do a bunch of things around the house all the time and be super productive in the hours that she would be here. It just was something that I did not feel like I was deserving of, because I didn't work hard enough. I didn't show that I had suffered enough in order to be able to deserve this. And that is so extremely toxic, but very, very common. So this time around, it still made me a little uncomfortable. It still made me squirm, thinking that I'm not proving that I have to do anything. I'm just allowed to receive this support and this love. And although I'm better at it, it does make me uncomfortable. But it's having these conversations that remind me, if it was my best friend saying, oh, I don't deserve someone to come and help me with my newborn so I can rest, I would say, girl, what are you thinking? And there may be some choice words in there, because it's like, oh my gosh, if it was anyone other than me, it wouldn't even be a question. It would be, of course you deserve help. Of course you deserve to rest. Of course you don't have to prove that you're allowed to take a shower or make a coffee or send a couple emails. On what planet do we have to prove that we are worthy of doing those mundane tasks? But our society has told us, and a lot of us have had conditioning, whether externally or internally, that unless we're suffering, unless we're struggling, unless we are working so hard and not achieving what we need to achieve, that is the only time we are worthy of receiving support, love, and care. And it's a narrative that needs to end. It is so toxic and so detrimental to mental health and physical health and spiritual health that it's something that we have to address and face head on. And these are conversations you need to be having with friends and family. We need to be normalizing these conversations that you were born worthy. You don't have to prove anything. You don't have to show that you are deserving of the basic necessities of love, care, and kindness. That's non-existent. It's not a conversation because it just is. You are just worthy. Period. End of sentence. No more conversation. So my question for you is, and what I would love you to reflect on after this episode is, where in your life do you feel like you have to prove you're worthy of support? Where do you feel like you are hustling harder or grinding it out because it's not that bad, quote unquote, it's not that bad? Where are you proving right now that life is hard enough for you to be allowed to have support or want rest? And when you reflect on that, give yourself grace, because I guarantee you something's going to come up and you may be surprised, you may not be surprised, you may already know, but give yourself grace for being in that mindset, for being in that place, because it is common. It is so normal. Doesn't mean it's good, but it's normal. So give yourself grace and commit to start to challenge these thoughts, start to challenge these behaviors, that when you're in the thick of it, ask for help. And if you are around people who don't want to help you, then you are still deserving of it. There's just different ways you have to go about it. And this can look like hired support if you're able to, a babysitter for an hour, 1 day a week. This could look like joining a mom group, a free mom group, a community, places that they help each other out. There's so many community resources right now. Google is a fantastic option. This could look like asking for a doula, or asking a friend to come over, asking a family member to come over. You don't have to prove to any of these people why you need the help or why you want the help. You don't have to explain yourself. You don't have to justify it. And if they're asking for you to, you can just say, because I need it, because I want it. Your sentence, your explanation is reason enough, whatever you're comfortable with. You don't have to then prove to them or explain to them why you are deserving of asking for help. And if that's not the case, if they're willingly open arm, ready to help you, you don't have to explain to yourself why you're worthy, why you're deserving. Just do the thing, go for it, and ask. And again, immense grace. Every day is a new day to learn things about ourselves, about the world, about how our mindset is. And some days we're going to learn really cool things, and some days we might learn hard things, and some days we may just hang out and not learn anything. And all of that is beautiful, and all of that is okay. Until next time, thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this, leave a comment, rate, send me a message on Instagram. I am always open to talking and chatting. Until then, I am sending you so much love.